Bonjour, je m'appelle Anushri. My name is Anushri, and I'm your trainer for your A1 journey. Let's embark on this journey and let's try to dive deep into this language. So, before we actually begin any language, it is important to learn their phonetics because, as we know, the sounds are in English are very different, and the sounds in French are very different. Once we have a phonetics in place, we will be able to pronounce any complex word easily. Let's dive deep into it. The lesson one, today's lesson is going to be Introduction à la phonétique française. That means introduction to the French phonetics. Let's see. In order to understand the phonetics better, we are going to be reading the text together. While reading the text, we are going to be decoding the different sounds, and I'm going to be making a notes of all your sounds here. Okay, other than that, I will also be providing you certain notes to help you feel at ease and better. Okay, so we will first be reading a text together. Do not worry, I will also translate the line bit by bit. Okay, let's dive deep into it. The title of the text is called as C'est ma vie. Please repeat after me. C'est ma vie. Now, if you see, the sound that you learned here is A. And then there are other two vowels here, which is E and E. Of course, the letters will sound differently as in English and in French. So before we begin, in English, there are about 5 vowels. Do you know which one of them? A, E, I, O, U. Other than that, we also have 2 more extra. First, let me just write this. A, E, I, O, U. And there are 2 extras, which is called as Y and H. Now, H is treated as a vowel, okay? It is usually having no sound. It's a mute letter in French, okay? The letter does not have a sound. Of course, in ABCD, while we learn, you will understand that the letter, we will definitely be knowing how to pronounce it. So, A pronunciation is A, which is why I said say ma vie. I has an sound. I. E has an sound. I has a double E sound. It is inversed. O is O. U, it's actually called as U. U. Okay. However, when we begin, we teach our students with U. U. And Y is very much similar as in I, again, E sound. And H has no sound. I'm going to give you some examples. For example, tomate, tomate. You all can also repeat after me. Then you can use this as drap, drap. If you see à la fin, drap. What we just saw, V, V, O, like dodo, dodo. U, like bus, bus. Y, like xylophone, xylophone. Okay, if you see, I'm saying it as xylophone, I sound. Okay, so A, E, O, U, E, and no sound. This no sound, for example, I can give you. One is called as hotel, hotel. Another one can be hôpital, hôpital. Did you remark that I'm not pronouncing any H? I'm not saying it as hotel, as how we say it in English, but it's hotel and hôpital. Let's come back to our reading section. So which is why it becomes c'est ma vie. Okay, and if you see, the letter in the end is not going to be pronounced. So the words which I'm not going to be pronouncing, I'm going to be marking them in red for your better understanding. This means this is my life. This is my life. Okay, now let's see. Je m'appelle, je m'appelle Angelica Samon. Okay, here if you see the sounds which are coming is J and E becomes je, and not je. It's going to be je. M'appelle, double L is going to have L sound proper. This being a very important sound, Angelica. Okay, so this is something which is called as nasal sounds in French. Okay, or is going to have a nasal sound which is on. So it becomes Angelica Summer. J'ai 12 ans et je suis canadienne. Okay, now if you see 12 ans, I'm not saying ons, so I'm going to mark this in red. J'ai 12 ans et je suis canadienne. Now 12 is a number, you all don't know this. You all will learn in your coming sessions soon, don't worry. Okay, 12 in French is called as 12 ans. Okay, also there are other sounds like AI in French. If you see, it has a A sound. Okay, par exemple, maison. You also saw J, and so on and so forth. Let's move ahead. That means my name is Angelica Samon. I am 12 years old and I am Canadian. Je suis canadienne. Now, this is another thing which you all need to know. IEN has an EN sound, and IEN and E has an EN sound. EN sound. Okay, which is why this is Canadien. It is used for masculine, and this is called as Canadienne, which is used for feminine. Okay, let's move ahead. So this means that I'm Angelica Summer, I'm 12 years old, and I'm Canadian. Okay, so I'm going to be marking the words wherever I'm going to be feeling that is a new sound which you all are going to be learning in bold. Okay, another thing which you all saw here is we. You and I together is going to be we. Okay, for example, we saw suis. Then we have something called as puis, ensuite, and so on and so forth. Okay, do not dive deep into the meanings of it right now. It's just to primarily understand your sounds. Let's continue. Il y a, this is an I, by the way. So il y a, 5 in French is called as 5. So 5 ans, again, H is going to, S is towards the end is going to be silent. 5 ans, ma famille et moi avons déménagé dans le sud de la France. Now, let's try and understand this. We know already il y a 5 ans. We already know this. That means it has been 5 years. Ma famille. Okay. ILL in French has EO sound. Okay, which is why it's not famille, it's famille. Similarly, travailler. Okay, here it has 2 sounds. Travailler. Et moi. Now, OI is another sound which you're going to be learning. OI is going to be OA sound. So like moi, toi, and so on and so forth. Okay. Ma famille et moi avons. Now, this is a very important nasal sound. Very important nasal sound. Just like AN. The sound is going to be on. Okay, so I'm going to put it in the same category as here. On. Okay, same sound as an AN. So, avant, déménager. Now, here we are going to be marking our S in red because we're not saying it avant. No, avant. Avant, déménager. Now, if you see, E has a certain accent. That accent in French is nothing but matras, which give a certain sound to our letters. So, when E will have this sound, this left hand up, that is called as aigu. Okay? And it has a sound of A. For example, we have école, okay, étudiant, and so on and so forth. However, if the accent is reverse, it is called as grave. The accent is called as grave, and it has a sound. Eh. For example, mère, père, frère, etc. Okay, we'll learn these accents much more in detail, but in our coming sessions. So, déménager, déménager dans le sud. Just say en, we are saying en. Similarly, dans, S is going to be silent. So, dans le sud de la France. It is not France, it is France because it's a N here if you see. Okay, which means it has been 5 years. My family and me have shifted in the south of France. Okay, let's move ahead. Mon père. Now we already know ON is on, and we already saw this accent, eh, which is why I'm saying mon père. Frank Summer, A, EST is going to be, in T is going to be silent. We will not say it as est. No, it will be A. There are a lot of silent sounds towards the end of a certain word in French. A mécanicien. We will break down certain words, which is going to be difficult. Mon père, Frank Summer, est mécanicien. Il adore les voitures anciennes. A, T is going to be silent here. A, collectionne les voitures miniatures. Okay, too many sounds here. Let's understand. So, mon père, my father, Frank Summer, okay, which is Frank Summer, a mécanicien, is a mechanic. Il adore, that means he loves, les voitures anciennes. He loves old cars. A, and collection. Now, A, if you see, again has the same sound as in here, this A. Okay. ET will also have the same sound. ET in French means and, by the way. Okay, you can also use it as cadet, cadet, okay, and so on and so forth. There are other such words which you'll be learning, which will have the same sound as A. Okay, I'm going to note down the sound. Let's move ahead. My father, Frank Summer, is mechanic. He loves old cars and collects collection. Now, this is something important. Okay. T-I-O-N in French. T-I-O-N in French has a sion sound. Okay. Which is why it becomes collection. Collection. Similarly, nationalité, which is nationality. Nationalité. Les voitures miniatures. That means he collects mini cars, miniature cars. Let's continue. Ma mère s'appelle. Every time that I'm reading, I would like you all to repeat after me. Ma mère s'appelle Emily Summer. Elle est infirmière dans un hôpital non loin de notre maison. Okay, let's see. We already know what ma is. So ma, my mother, ma mère. We saw A sound. S'appelle is called Emily Summer. Elle est infirmière. Now, if you see, there is a th sound here which is coming. Okay, this concept in French is called as liaison. What is liaison is when one word is ending with a consonant and the other word is ending with a vowel, this is going to be pronounced. The last consonant of the previous word will be pronounced. So which is why this does not become les élèves. Normally, S towards the end is going to be silent. However, if it's followed by a vowel, it becomes les élèves. S has a Z sound, les élèves. Similarly, il, normally we say it as il, S is going to be silent. But when there is a vowel next to it, ils ont, ils ont. Okay, so this concept is called as liaison. And this only happens when there is a consonant ending and the next word is starting with a vowel. So what happened here is a liaison. Elle est infirmière dans un, here as well, dans un hôpital non loin de notre maison. Now, if you see, there is another word which you saw here is OIN. Okay? So, OIN together is going to be wa sound. It's going to have a nasal sound. Wa. Okay? Like how a little N sound towards the end. Like how we have coin, loin, and so on and so forth. Let's continue. So my mother is Emily Summer. She's a nurse. Infirmière means nurse in a hospital, dans un hôpital, not far from our house. Okay? I-N, A-I is going to be A and O-N is going to be O. So maison. Okay? Let's continue. Nous avons déménagé en France parce qu'elle a toujours aimé la culture de ce pays. Okay, what does it mean is, now here again, nous, another sound which you heard, OU is going to be OU. OU is going to be OU. Okay, OU, just like as in English. Par exemple, coucou. Coucou means hi in French, coucou. So nous avons here is also there's going to be a liaison. So I'm going to be putting that underlining. Nous avons déménagé, same word as in here, en France. En is also en. Same sound as in an and on. Okay. So nous avons déménagé en France parce qu'elle a. Okay, now this is parce, we'll break it. Q-U apostrophe, qu'elle a toujours aimé la culture, it's not culture as in English, but culture de ce pays. Remember, Y has an E sound, right? This means that we shifted in France because she always loved the culture of this country. On va continuer, we are going to continue. Now, elle est là, we already know this. La vie en France est très différente de celle au Canada. Ici, il fait toujours chaud. Now, la vie en France, we already know these sounds. Et très, S is going to be silent. Très différente. Now, normally, if it would have been like this, we would have said this as différent. If there is a vowel in the end, the word before that will be pronounced. It's going to be différente. De celle au Canada. C-A is ka, not sa. Okay, that means the life in France is very different from that of Canada. Ici, ici means here. Okay, now this is some things which you all should know. C-A, C-O, and C-U is nothing but ka, ho, and who. However, if C is followed by E, it is a S sound, S-E. And C followed by I is a C sound. Okay, which is why we said this as ici and not iki. Okay. Ici, il fait, T towards the end being silent. Toujours, S being silent. Chaud, D being silent. Here, it is always hot. Let's continue. Chaque dimanche, nous allons à la magnifique plage de Biarritz et nous achetons des glaces après avoir nagé dans la mer. Now, big sentence, we're going to break it down. Chaque dimanche, Q-U-E, has a K sound in French, not chaque Q. No, it has a K sound. Q-U-I will have a key sound. Okay? So, chaque, C-H, has a sh sound. For example, chaise. So, chaque, I will also be marking this. Dimanche, we also know this, A-N, dimanche. Nous allons, here we are going to have a liaison, à la magnifique. Now, this being very, very important. G-N in French has a neo sound, neo, together. Which is why it became, this will not be read as montagne. However, it will be read as montagne. Okay, similarly, Allemagne, campagne, and so on and so forth. Montagne, Allemagne, campagne. Okay, not campagne, no. Okay, so which is why it becomes magnifique plage de, we will break it down, Biarritz, Biarritz, et nous achetons, liaison, des glaces, S towards the end will be silent, glace, again S silent, après avoir, again liaison, nager, E will have the matra A, dans, S being silent, la mer. ER is going to be again A sound, just like here. ER is going to be A sound, which is why it's mer. You can also say donner. You can also say travailler, regarder, and so on and so forth. Okay, which means every Sunday, we go to the magnificent beach of Biarritz and we buy some ice creams, glass is ice cream, after having bathed in the sea. Let's move ahead. Last paragraph. I'm going to be a little quick here. Les Français, now C has the cedille. Okay, I will go on, delve deeper into accents a bit later. So whenever the C has this matra here, if you see the small matra, okay, it has a S sound. So les Francais, no, les Français sont, T being silent, très sympathiques et accueillants. I-L-L, remember? E sound, accueillant. We'll break down certain words. That means the French are very kind and welcoming. Next, nous parlons. Now, if you see here, I'm not saying nous parlons. No. S towards the end is not pronounced. So, nous parlons français lorsque nous sommes dehors, S being silent in this word, H being silent. I'm not saying dehors, no, dehors. À l'école ou au marché. Now here, this is another sound which is called as AU. Okay, AU is again O. Okay, so which is by how we saw here, it is AU, which is O, which means to the. Marché. Marché. That means We speak French when we are outside, in the school, or at the market. Let's move ahead. CE together, sir. So, cependant, there are too many sounds in this word. SCE, sir, P and pont, D and D, don. Cependant, nous continuons. Remember again, continuons de parler, ER, remember, A sound, anglais, A-N-O, A-I-A, anglais, à la maison, car mes parents ne veulent now. ENT in verbs will never be pronounced. You all will learn this much deeper when you learn verbs in French. Ne veulent pas que je perde. Now, if you see, D is being pronounced here because it is ending with an E. So, je perde ma langue natale. This means, however, we continue to speak English in the house. Car means because my parents do not want that I forget my native language. Okay? This is just a basic of what our sounds look like in French, which is why if you see the pronunciation is very different, even though there are two words which are similar in English and in French, but the pronunciations will be completely opposite. Okay, so we got to learn the sounds better in order to pronounce better. We are going to be diving more deep in our second part, so stay tuned.